Warning, this video may contain some material that many parents may find unsuitable for children under the age of 14. We use Dremel tools, sharp objects, swear a lot, well, sometimes, and overall, anybody under the age of 14 shouldn't be watching this unless you have a parent with you. And if you do watch, I hope you enjoy it. Hey, it's Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this episode is a challenge video up against Austin over at Diecast Resurrection. He contacted me on Instagram, and he put forth an idea about building something that never was. A Redline car from like 68, 69, 70 that just was never made and probably should have made. And it could have been any casting, anything we want. So I picked, actually this isn't what I picked a Maverick. And that'll be in a video later on this week because it didn't make the cut in my opinion. Probably came out, maybe I would say a 5 out of 10. So I decided to change directions and go with this 62 Chevy pickup from Hot Wheels that, it's a 62, so I felt it probably more than likely could have been something from 68 to 70 time frame, and probably should have been. So at least this is how I interpreted, what we were going to be doing. I'm sure Austin's going to go crazy and build something with like 12 motors and, I don't know. But I interpreted it a certain way, and this is something that I wanted to do anyways. So I was up for the challenge. I wish the Maverick would have came out a little bit better because I think it came out, the idea was good. The execution on my end kind of sucked. So, but anyways, the 62 Chevy pickup has a plastic base. I do have some with a metal base. I just couldn't get myself to tear them apart right now. So I will make some adjustments as the build progresses. Drilling apart's fairly easy, obviously with a plastic base. Got to be careful in the back because it's not very deep, and you can blow through it real easy if you're not careful. And which is why you should be using, put it in a vise, not your hand like I'm doing. Do as I say, not as I do. But this is a fun casting. I've done a few of these. They never get old. There's always so many things you can do to them. I'm going to scuff up the paint a little bit with a Scotch-Brite pad before I strip it. Just helps speed up the process a little bit as far as I'm concerned. Not that it's that big of a deal. I put it in a citrus strip, and I usually let them sit overnight because I do it at the end of the day. But, I've had some castings that you really have to scuff up to get it to work well. So it's my little Tupperware bucket citrus strip, and I still like this stuff. Still works good. It's non-toxic. Don't eat it, but it's decent. So while that's stripping, this is what I have. This is the base, and I became a dealer recently for Bright Vision wheels and paints. So even though as a dealer, you're not supposed to use your own stuff. But I'm grabbing some deep dish bearing wheels, large and mediums. And the problem was making a bearing. So I grabbed some, I believe, it was in the assorted pack, so I'm not 100% sure. It's either 1/8 or 3/32 solid styrene rod. And then my piano wire from K&S. So because it's a solid piece of styrene, I'm going to drill down the center of it carefully, obviously. Again, should be using a vise, not your hands. And that's going to allow me, I need to get a smaller bit. That one's just slightly oversized, but it was the smallest I had. And it worked fine, but I wanted a little bit snugger fit. The gel super glue worked fine. So ultimately, I'm going to cut that to size and fit that inside each wheel. I left the little tabs closed on the base so I could kind of play around without it falling all over the place. And it's just a matter of cutting the piano wire to the right length. I ended up doing it twice because I screwed up the first time, which is fine. I mean, you buy that stuff. I've had it for a year and I've barely used any of it, it looks like. So ultimately, getting the right length of the axle is important because you're going to be gluing it in and then snapping it back into place. So plus the interior holds the wheels as well, so it's not like I have to glue the axles in this case. So the axles themselves are fairly easy. I use a pair of cutters to cut them. You can't use a knife or anything like that. It is hard steel. So you can see right here they fit in nice and smooth. But this was a fun project. The Maverick that I did fought me the entire way, and again, I think it was in the way I planned on doing it. The way I planned on doing it, I actually did do it. It's just I think it was flawed to begin with. So not everything we do is perfect, and that's why I'm going to show that one next, but not why I entered it for part of this challenge. So front and rear, I'm going to do the same thing. Cut the axles, fit it. The only thing that I did differently that I made it as a choice was to not 68, 69, 70, early 70s. Nothing was slammed on the ground. They all had, some height to them, so they roll and play and stuff. The 62, it just looks so good slammed. I couldn't get myself to not do that and leave it that way. So the medium wheels in the front, I probably could have gone with large and left them all the same all the way around. The medium wheels themselves are slightly smaller in diameter than the ones that came on it from the factory. So you have to grind just a little bit off the bottom so that it doesn't rub, because the diameter of the wheels just isn't deep enough. I end up grooving, and I don't show it because I did it on the fly. I end up grooving just a little bit further down as well inside the axle channel, just to get them that extra 1/16 of an inch down so that it would roll well. The base in the interior, I'm going to get primed. I prime them with the Tamiya Fine White, and then I'm going to end up trying to replicate an aluminum look. Once the body was stripped, I used some turtle wax polishing compound on the body with a brass wire wheel. And all I'm trying to do at this point is kind of dig in and get as much as I can of a lot of the stuff off, including like the citrus strip and crap like that. Then I'll take a polishing wheel and go over it that way. It works good, but it wasn't, I don't know, there was just something about it. It wasn't shiny enough, I guess. So I went to O'Reilly's and I picked up some polishing compound, and that worked 10 times better. I'm not sure what the difference is, but that's the stuff I bought, the polishing cream, and that gave me a really nice finish. Now, I made a conscious decision to not do anything to the body. I left the casting lines, any imperfections, because that's the way it would have been. And if you know me, I usually sand everything down. I made that decision. I also picked up some metal cast aluminum, trying to replicate the body or the base color that would have been. I lost a little bit of footage, but the lime green or apple Spectraflame or Nitroflame Bright Vision colors worked awesome. I loved it. Came out perfect. It was exactly the shade I wanted. It was exactly the look I was after. So the last thing I'm going to do is make a tonneau cover. The original 68, 69, 70s, a lot of them had like a black roof, especially the spoiler series, the Woodies, stuff like that. And it had like a flat black textured or whatever. I'm not going with the texture, but I'm going to go with a semi-flat satin finish tonneau cover. So I'm using just a really thin piece of styrene out of my scrap pile. And you can tell by my highly accurate measurements here how I do things. I kind of wing it as I go, obviously. Obviously, you do better than that. So once I fit it, the end of the beds on these have two little tabs that kind of stick out on each end about a 1/16 of an inch out and in. So in order to get it to fit flush, you just have to kind of groove those out a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. It's not a flaw. It's just part of the casting. It's not a big deal. But to just groove those out just a little bit makes all the difference in the world, and it will sit flush. Now, I won't glue this in I'll put some more styrene underneath to build it up a little bit so that it could sit flush and be glued down as well. I decided not to. I may do it later, but right now I just wanted it as a separate piece, something that may have been an attachment like from the factory, and quite possibly a choking hazard for a small child. So I'm going to sand it down, make sure it's all good, make sure it fits flush. I'll glue a couple pieces on the bottom, and I'll hit it with the Citadel Chaos black paint, which has a perfect satin finish for what I was looking for. And I love putting that shit on everything, so it works out really, really well. So you're fitting it just a little finicky here and there on sanding. You see me with the file, just to make sure it sits nice and flush. Yeah, I want to thank Austin for asking me to do this. This was just such a fun challenge. And I've been wanting to do something like this anyway, so the timing was perfect. Well, actually, the timing was horrible, but it was fun to do. That's all the pieces, parts that I have. It's going to get all put together. The interior I painted white, and I left everything else that metal cast silver. Shout out to my Patreon members that help feed my addiction. I appreciate it very much. Those with the YouTube icons next to them are linked down below. Please check them out and show them some support. So this is what I started with. And I guess I'm not too far off with my paint, the green to green, I guess. Big stretch. But this is what I started with. I had a blast doing this. The Redline wheels and the paint, everything about this, there's nothing about this I don't like, and that happens very, very rare. I kept the details to a minimum. I just did the tail lights, the headlights, and the fog lights. Kept everything the aluminum color. I love it. I hope you guys do too. I will catch you on the next one.